Good evening. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting of Ayer, Massachusetts for Thursday, October 2nd at 6 p.m. in Ayer Town Hall. This is a hybrid meeting. This meeting of the Finance Committee will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID 978-772-8220 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is a review and approval of the September 10th meeting minutes. We understand that because we want to make sure the minutes of that meeting are detailed and correct. We're going to wait till our next meeting on October 16th to review and give those approval.
My apologies.
Oh, no, again,
It's a hard one to write out there.
yeah. No, and I, as I mentioned earlier, I just publicly just thank you, Eric and Andrew, for your past jobs as secretary. Okay, real quick, starting to have our committee updates. There was the rate review committee has met twice now, and currently the topic being discussed is the solid waste budget and fees for the coming year. So over the last two meetings, we've looked at the current budget, the proposed budget, and are considering the cost for the bags and fees that would be charged. So the DPW group is preparing some new scenarios, and on our next meeting, we will be, which I believe is October 14th, we will be looking at that and seeing what we want to do with that. However, as far as water, sewer, and now the stormwater funds, we have not touched on those yet. Okay, the next item here is the Capital Planning Committee. The Capital Planning Committee had a meeting just on the 11th, just like we did, on short notice. The results of that meeting were about the senior center, and they voted 4-1 to recommend, and I'm going to defer to Robert for the exact details of what they recommended to the select board.
Sure. So, Mr. Chair, gentlemen, good evening. So the Capital Planning Committee has a much more narrow focus in sort of checking the boxes on the capital. So in looking at it, and they had met with the building committee back in January, I believe. So first of all is to look at, is the project within the borrowing capacity of the town, which it is, as the presentation showed that the borrow capacity of the town, even with the project there's considerable capacity there. Secondly, would it negatively impact the town's bond rating, which it would not. And then there's just a recommendation to the select board also to make sure that it constitutes what is a capital project, which it is. And then lastly, they do make recommendations on the funding mechanism. So obviously, per the financial policies, this would be a debt exclusion. And they also voted 4-1 to recommend up to $2 million in capital stabilization as was presented. So that recommendation will go to the select board and will be reflected in the warrant. And I'll just add, actually tomorrow, per the town's schedule, the capital directive will go out, and I'll send it to the FinCom tomorrow, and all departments will have till October 31st. We give them about a month. This is for any capital for the upcoming year, for the spring. So capital plans will be due October 31st, and then the committee, as Kurt knows, will start to meet in November with a target to wrap up by January. And we're really stressing this year a really conservative approach on new capital based on the following: interest rates of making borrowing higher. Secondly, the volatility on the federal and state level, and I don't mean that as a political statement, but there's a lot of volatility that is impacting potentially the economy, including tariffs and the inflation that's still out there. So we will keep the committee updated, and also as we start this process, the capital planning webpage, as the committee knows, will have all of the materials. I think that's it in a nutshell, Kurt.
Okay, great. Thank you, Robert, for summarizing that. So, okay, so any questions, comments on the rate review and or capital planning updates? No. Okay, now, on the agenda, I had discussion town meeting, and in particular, we might take a moment or two. There was actually two other financial warrant items on the warrant that we need to look at. So there's a copy of it in front of you. And Robert, would you like to discuss those while we take a look at them?
Yeah,
I have
and
one comment first.
yes.
Reading through this,
Yeah.
it can be slightly confusing to say support reducing the affordability of 2 to 3 units.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll come. The explanatory notes from the committee.
If you keep reading, it makes more sense. But reducing affordability just sounds confusing.
Okay. So I passed out a last-minute memo, as Kurt mentioned, to the FinCom. In addition to the senior center, which the committee took up at your meeting on September 10th, there are two other articles from the Community Preservation Fund, and through the chair, I know that Janet Protodakis, the chair of the CPC, is on for Zoom. And so the Finance Committee, in your role of reviewing and making recommendations, we wanted to discuss these two articles. The reason the number is blank is the board is going to approve on the article number. The board will approve the warrant on Tuesday, and we'll put the appropriate number in. So the first article is Community Preservation Fund for the Devon's Crest Affordable Housing Support. And the CPC is recommending $400,000 towards this project, which constitutes, if you will, sort of the local match. A public hearing, it went through the whole process. You can find all of the documents on the CPC webpage. There was a public hearing on September the 17th. If you flip over the page, on the financial summary of the articles, so the $400,000 would come out of the budget reserve category, which as of August 25th, there's over 1.2 million in that category. And then the total project, it's a $40 million project up at Devon's Crest. And the cost share is as follows. There is a state grant for $10.8 million that they actually received a week or two ago from the state. There is a private investor group, and there's going to be a presentation on this at town meeting as well. There's a private investor group, it's called Shock It, that they have partnered with that is $14 million. Then there's the issue of the private debt or the amortization of the debt, about $15 million. The Ayer Affordable Housing Trust voted on September 10th to recommend $170,000, and then what is going to be before the voters on October 27th is this article looking for $400,000. And so you can see the total, it comes over just over the 40 million. The 40 million is the estimated cost on it. So again, I don't know if there are any questions from the Finance Committee on the financial and the balance, the budget reserve category is pretty healthy at just over 1.2 million.
Question. So I think it was what you were reading, Andrew. Support reducing the affordability of 2 to 3 units from the 80% to 60%. So this is going to cover like 2 or 3 living units, or does it mean 2 to 3 bedroom units?
So,
Like, is it?
so through the chair, Janet is the expert.
Sorry.
No. So Janet.
Yes,
Yeah.
can I speak now or?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right, Kurt, thank you very much. Yes, it is going to be a unit, it's not a bedroom. It is one apartment. So whatever those apartments would be depends upon if it's a 2 or 3 bedroom. That's why it's 2 to 3 units, because it all depends upon which one that they're going to be able to go ahead and, it's really a buy down. So I can see, I think it was Andrew who made the, support reducing the affordability. Really what it should say is to support the buy down of 2 to
Okay.
3 80% AMI units to a 60% AMI, thus helping lower income families with their monthly rental costs. That's pretty much, I think that sounds better.
All right, we can clarify. We'll clean that up. I agree.
Because that's what we're doing, is we're putting money aside to buy down those 80% AMI unit down to 60%. And they did the calculation, and they think that whatever we're giving, it's going to be in total between Community Preservation Committee as well as the Affordable Housing Trust, $570,000. And they did the calculation, it goes out for about 30 years. And then it will revert back to an 80% affordable unit, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
I do have a question, I don't know if for Robert or Janet. So this overall project on Devon's Crest, I did sit in on one of the meetings a couple months ago on this one. The outfit made the presentation. This has been creating, again, I don't know how to term this, the affordable housing project. This has been approved by the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust, or
Yes. So the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust had a series of meetings with them as well. Alicia Hersey, our housing program specialist, staffs the trust, and they held a public hearing as well on that. And at the end of that process, they voted a recommendation for $170,000 towards it from the Affordable Housing Trust. So that's a separate, that's not obviously an omnibus budget type of thing. And all of this, we should add, all of it is contingent on, they have not closed on the property yet, I believe, Janet can correct me. But all of this is contingent on them acquiring the property. If they don't acquire the property from the owner, the town, and there are a bunch of other contingencies that the town does not just transfer the money upon approval.
Right, that's what I thought, 'cause so the overall intent of this project, as remember looking, is to finally take, Andrew, Eric, Bob, have you heard anything about this project? Oh, okay,
Several years,
okay,
right?
yeah, but yeah,
A
this
couple
is,
of years, yeah.
yeah, this is, but this current iteration,
Mhm.
yeah, to get, yeah.
And I think the final thing, Mr. Chair, to mention, so, and Janet would have the exact specifics, but as the FinCom knows, every municipality in the Commonwealth has to reach a certain percentage benchmark of affordable units. And I know that the Affordable Housing Committee, the Affordable Housing Trust, CPC, the Select Board, the town, I think as a whole, is making great steps towards achieving that benchmark. So this would count, these 2 units, or 2 or 3 units would count, towards that effort. Janet, through the chair, do you know what the exact benchmark is and where we're at? Not to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much. Because I was going to add a couple other things too, if possible. If we go ahead, there are in total 114 units that will be considered affordable. They will have an affordability covenant over them, keeping them at the 80% AMI. All right. So with that will give us closer to 9.5%, towards the subsidized housing inventory. Because even though not all, the units are low income, like the 60%, they'll all be counted as part of the inventory. And that, like I say, gets us closer to about a 9.5, where we're at now about a little over about 7%. So it's going to be, it's going to help out tremendously. The other 2 things that I'd like to mention, if possible, Mr.
Yes.
Chair,
Go ahead, Janet,
is
thank you.
okay, is that they also are going to have 35 Mass State Voucher Program vouchers. They're sort of like Massachusetts Section 8, but they're project-based, which means they stay with those 35 units. From my conversations with Secretary Augustus, he really says that good news is going to be coming, that they'll get those 35. But just like if they can't buy the property, if they don't get those 35, again, this may not go through and the monies, won't be expended. They're still going to be held up, as Robert, stated, with those contingencies. They got to buy the property and they got to get the vouchers. The other item that I want to bring up is doing this of buying down these units and getting the affordability covenant that now protects Devon's Crest. Remember, Devon's Crest got sold as a private sale. There was nothing that the town could do to step in because it was private. Now, if they do go through, buy the property, where Devon's Crest Tenants Association and Shockit, become the manager owners and such, it now is protected underneath an affordability covenant. So we can have more leverage with the state of, you can't play with that now. Does that make sense?
Yes, I appreciate the more information. Any other questions from the committee?
Janet, question for you. So 35 voucher units are considered part of the affordable percentage of units, correct?
Correct.
Even though
30,
they're voucher, they're not outside of the affordability.
no, the 35 are part of the 114. So right now, 79 of them are at the 80% mark.
Okay.
The 35 will be lower, and that will be a 30% of your income that will be paying for your, for the rent.
Okay, and the 60% affordability, there's what, 3 of those, 4 of those? I'm sorry, 3 of those?
Well,
to
it's,
3.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 or 3 because of CPC funds and 1 or 2 because of the Affordable Housing Trust. So we're hoping for between 4 and 5.
Thank you.
Right? Okay, no problem.
Any other questions on this particular article at this point? Okay, then just we can look at the next article on the generators.
Yep, so then the next article looks to have town meeting authorize $250,000 for the purchase and installation of 2 separate generators for buildings B and C at the Air Housing Authority, which is located at 18 Pond Street, senior housing. And you will see there is a typo, my error, in the explanatory note that should say 250, not 230. That's a typo on my part. Again, went through the community preservation application process. All of the materials, including the application, are on their webpage. A public hearing was just held last night on October 1st. And this is the total cost of the project. So there isn't a funding breakdown or shared funding. In the past, CPC has supported a generator in the past, specifically the generator for this building many moons ago. But that is the request.
So I have one quick question. Have been at the 18 Pond, there is one generator there, but so now as I'm understanding, that's for building A, I'm guessing. Okay, so the other two buildings don't have generators, right?
Correct.
Gotcha, okay. So these are going to, so then all 3 buildings will now have
Correct.
generators in case National Grid decides to.
Or storm outage. Right.
All right. Cannot editorialize.
And that funding will also come out of that 1.2 million that I mentioned, the budget reserve category.
The undesignated.
Yeah, yeah. And so if both articles pass town meeting, out of that 1,214,000, 650,000 total for both projects would come out.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on this article?
Currently, no.
And as I mentioned, there'll be presentations on both of these projects at town meeting.
So what I would like to do then, we as a committee, is that if we can go back and so we'll need to do the motion second for look at both of these articles to recommend, not recommend, etc. So on, well, the articles aren't numbered yet. So the article on the Community Preservation Fund, Devon's Crest Affordable Housing Support.
Question of procedure? Do we need
Yes.
to, were we supposed to make a motion to open discussion, or are we just voting? Again, first time kind of going through all this, I'm just not sure.
Well, no, that's what we've just looked at both articles, discussed them, questions on them.
Just vote.
So yeah, so now I'm throwing it out to this. So the next step then we'll need to vote on these 2 articles. So we'll need someone to make a motion, we'll second, and then we'll take a vote on each article. So we'll do one article at a time.
You can still have discussion after you.
Good point.
Right, yeah.
It's motion, is there any discussion, and then you vote on after discussion.
Okay.
I will make a motion to, I guess we'll just say, approve, support the first article about the article blank of Community Preservation Fund, Devon Crest Affordable Housing Support.
Second.
Okay. So any discussion? Okay.
Nope.
So all those in favor to recommend?
Aye.
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 So we have 4 votes to recommend for the article on Community Preservation Fund, Devon's Crest Affordable Housing Support. Then the next article is the Community Preservation Fund Air Housing Authority request for generators at 18 Pond Street.
I'll make a motion for Article blank, number 2, Community Preservation Fund and Air Housing Authority request for generators at 18 Pond Street for $250,000.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of recommending the Community Preservation Fund Air Housing request for generators at 18 Pond Street as motioned and seconded?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Right.
So we have on this article, Community Preservation Fund Air Housing Authority request for generators at 18 Pond Street for the sum of $250,000, 3 to recommend and 1 to abstain or no position. Okay. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
Great, thank you, Janice, for giving and
Thank you,
sharing
Janet,
the information.
and thank you to the committee.
Okay, let's see, we have one other item for the town meeting on October 27th. So, as you've received emails, I believe, the meeting, the town meeting, and I am going to ask Robert to make sure I've got this correct, will be on Monday, October 27th at 7 p.m. at the Ayer High School.
Yep.
Correct.
All right.
And the items discussed will be the senior center and these 2 articles, and I believe there's some several non-financial
Yeah, there are
items.
4
articles.
small zoning bylaw amendments that are largely cleanup. And there are 3 easements, one for the Habitat House to connect to power. They need to put a pole on the back of town property. So there's an easement. There's an easement for the new clear well for Grove Pond and for the treat the PFAS. There's an easement needed for National Grid that's at 99 Barnum Road for another, for the underground connection.
That's on town land?
Yeah. And then the third one is Catania Spagna Corporation on 0 Nemco Way. There's a small easement of town land that they are requesting as well. So there's those 3 articles. Once the warrant is posted on the warrant page, we'll have the diagrams. You can see where everything is. So it's the 4 zoning, the 3 easements, the 2 CPA articles, and the senior center. So there are 10 articles total.
Okay. Very good. And then just, so if the senior center proposal is passed by a 2/3 majority, then it will then go to a town vote on November
So
3rd.
So, Tuesday, November 4th, and the polls will be, the voting will be here, the polls will be open from noon to 8 p.m. On Tuesday, November 4th, and that has to be a simple majority.
But, and just as I found out reading, is that if the senior center article is not approved by 2/3 at the town meeting, then there will be no vote held on November 4th.
Correct.
Okay.
No election at all. It's the only thing for the election?
So there'd be no election, yes.
Here, I have a question.
Oh,
related
yes.
to the senior center. So, in the world of planning board, if something is denied by the planning board, there's a 2-year moratorium on your ability to go back and have it reapproved. Is that the case with this senior center and the 2/3 majority?
That's a good question, Bob. So what you're speaking to all planning board site that you're speaking of in zoning board, zoning bylaws, if they are defeated, there is a two-year period before you can come back. That is not applicable to this type of an article. So it could come back and it wouldn't have to wait the 2 years. But you're correct. Zoning bylaw and site planning board site plan.
Like I did mention that the moderator sent out an email to all of us. Did everyone see that? Yeah, to ask us to. So as usual, we do come to the.
I will be there.
Okay. And one thing I was going to throw out, because I was just thinking I'd overthinking it as I usually do, is all 5 of us have to be up there. And so
I'll put my neck on the line. I'll sit up there.
well, what I thought would be a happy balance is, because I know we have is chair and vice chair. We'll take the
And secretary.
it's up to clerk.
I apologize.
Clerk. But
Fine by me.
no, I throw it out for. I was just. let's
I'll
do
be
it.
there. If there's a chair for me, great. If not, I'll sit with
Okay.
the.
Well, no, that's what I'm throwing out now. I was just. Do you want to have just chair, vice chair, clerk? We did last time.
No one else wants to sit there. That's fine.
I'm glad to sit in the crowd.
You can shoot me if you want.
Okay, yeah, no, I just thought because this is just, again, overall, this has just been such a quick process, and
I don't think town meeting will be quick.
well, yeah, that was part of my thinking too, is that we just want to be there. And one thing I have to say is that this committee has done a great job of diving deep into this question, and I think it's done a really good job on that. And the information that's going to be presented to the town is good. So I think we've done a good job there.
Have a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
I assume people are going to have questions for the committee. Right? They can do that, right?
Yes, they
Yeah, so through the chair, so what's anticipated, and of course the board will, the select board on Tuesday will confirm this, but I anticipate that the plan will be obviously the item of the evening, not that the others aren't important, is the senior center article. So my anticipation is they'll take up all the other stuff first, and the reason being is because it's relatively very straightforward, and that doesn't mean there wouldn't be questions or what have you. Reserving the balance of, the time and for the presentation and so forth, for the senior center article. So then when it gets to that article, obviously it'd be moved and seconded. The plan is to have a similar presentation model that was used for FinCom and for capital, the project, the finance and the funding plan. And then the moderator will open it up for discussion, and that's why he gets the big bucks to run the meeting. And to your point, the FinCom has every right to speak. Of course, you have an interesting position split on it, so I anticipate you'll probably get questions on that. you may not. And then, you know, there'll be the discussion and so forth, and then at some point, there'll be a vote, and the key thing is, it does have to pass by 2/3 of the attendees.
Just as out of curiosity, do you have to start with just like a no card oral vote, or can you just like proceed to, we're just gonna go with the cards because we think it's probably going to be.
Again, not to speak, you know, for the moderator, depending how it plays out, just like tonight, so the article will have been moved and seconded to get it on the table for discussion. At some point, when it comes to a vote, so there's a couple of things. One is, if a motion could be made, this hasn't happened in some time, but it has happened. There could be a motion made and seconded for a secret ballot. So if there's a motion made and second for a secret ballot, so people vote with the cards in these boxes, so it's not moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the secret ballot? If there's discussion, and then if that motion passes by a simple majority, they'll do a secret ballot vote. It's been a long time. I'm trying to think. When I first came here, there was somebody, so there could be a secret ballot vote. If not, like you've seen on all the other articles, they'll call a vote, and then my guess is that the moderator will count it. I mean, that he has the right to count, or somebody can make a motion, count the vote, and then they would count, you know, the cards. So those are the I guess you could say the two options. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, because it's a 2/3, and you know,
Yeah.
it's hard to.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if they would just like skip it, but yeah,
Right.
you just.
And if they if they do that when the secret ballot, just need everybody's patience, but they'll count it all out. You know, the moderator will have counters, and so.
So as I was thinking this through, what I was anticipating, as we've done in the past, we will be there for questions. That,
I'll happily be there.
that's to be presented, to be asked. So is everybody okay with not being on stage, not being on stage?
Like I said, I'm fine. If there's a chair up there for me, I'll sit. If not, I'll be down there.
And I know Robert.
Oh, glad to sit in the crowd.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying. In years past, you and Jen have felt more comfortable sitting in the crowd. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, it's so that'll be our plan then. We'll be ready there. And again, I think we've got a lot of good information to share. People ask questions.
Should we bring information?
I was just going to say, given the fact that we did have different votes on the committee, would you recommend if someone in the audience, if you know, residents, like I would like to hear from the finance committee, would you recommend having Kirk just speak for the discussion we had and everything, or would you recommend someone who voted each way saying something?
So
Would Jen have to stand up there and say, I voted to abstain because something? Like, would she have to get up there? Like, could they make her?
no. So
Kurt's discretion.
So through the chair, and this is just advice because you guys are independent. I'm not trying to. So, couple things. So, one is they could ask what was the position of the FinCom, which in this case it's split or it's not, you know, unanimous. So, one option, and I'm not advocating it. One is that the chair could state the facts, and what I mean by that is we met on such and such a date, we received a full, presentation. This is what was presented, when you took the vote, this was what the vote was. It's sort of the facts. Another option would be, is that since there is it's not a unanimous vote, if you will, another option is, and it just happened to be this way, I'm just saying, the chair voted in the affirmative, so that, again, the chair could give the facts. I think that's important, just, right? And I'm just putting it out there, Kurt could speak to the affirmative, Andrew could speak to the
Not recommend.
not recommend. But any of you recognized the keys, recognized moderator can speak.
So
But yeah, they're not, I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
Chair.
you have to
But
finish
just
your
so
thought.
everybody knows that nobody can compel you guys to do anything. But my guess is if they ask, it's how you decide to handle it.
Well, that was part of my thought process, is that if questions were put to us, I would, as chair, would say, we had meetings, we took a vote, and this is what we recommended to the select board and town meeting. Then if further questions were asked, I was sort of thinking along your line that I would defer to folks. You voted not to, some of your members voted to not recommend. Can you explain more of that? And actually, that's where my thought would be to defer to you. Not defer, but then have you talk on that.
Submit to the vice chair.
Pardon?
Submit the vice chair.
So,
Sure.
no. And then I would take any other questions, as far as recommend and stuff. So that was sort of my, again, this is good we're having this discussion, because I'm just sort of like, wow. So that was my idea of just having I and what's your name? Andrew on the stage, so that we don't suddenly, if like we had all 5 of us on stage, people could be peppering each of us with questions.
Okay.
And I was thinking it would just be I and Eric as chair.
Yeah.
I and, oh my God.
It's fine.
The other guy.
He's looking at you and talking about
The other guy.
You should see me when all the grandkids were here.
And just one other thing to keep in mind, it's just a suggestion, it doesn't happen that often, but so when you're on the stage, or what have you, you're speaking within the scope of the FinCom's position, which obviously in this case it's not a unanimous position. But also what people have done too, if you feel that, and you have every right to do this, if you also want to speak as a resident, outside of the scope of the, what wasn't discussed at the meeting, your own, personal, feelings and so forth as a resident, then you can, usually people just go down, to the microphone and say that. I've seen, it doesn't happen that often. I've seen FinCom members do that in the past. I've seen select board members, come down floor and say, Roger Smith, member of the Ayer Select Board, but I'm speaking from the floor as a resident. Just, yeah.
You and I both did that last time.
I think, yeah. Yeah.
The last meeting? Or?
The last big town meeting. I forget what it was.
I got down and asked a question to Danny about one of the
Oh, yeah,
bylaws.
right.
Or conversely, I'm just saying, if Bob is down in the audience and wants to say something as a member of the FinCom, rather than have to come up to the stage, just go to the microphone, Bob France, your address, and I'm speaking as a member of the FinCom. It just gives it that delineation. So,
Yeah, however you want to do it. If you would rather it just be the two of you up there for simplicity /
But
whatever.
That's what I'm just, is that,
That's fine.
see, where the thought process started with me when I saw the 5 emails.
Eric voted off the island.
What 5 emails?
Oh, we each got an email that to be with a personal invitation to the town meeting from the moderator a couple weeks ago, right?
You want to come sit with me, but you have to fill in.
Right. Yeah, and that's. Oh, okay. So maybe I should step. That's what's been informing this thought process. You know, I was like, well, we were planning on showing up anyway. So I was just, well, does that mean you want us all 5 up there? And I said, you know, so that's what's been driving my thought process here. And then Andrew and Eric, and then the question is, when people start asking questions,
Are we gonna meet again before town meeting?
yeah, October 16th. Pardon?
We could think about it and then talk about it some more.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I'm happy to just you and me, that's fine.
yeah. And you know what? And I also,
I mean, I assume the questions, you field the questions unless you need someone to help you, right? Because like the official committee stance, right, is no.
correct.
But if people want to ask questions, they can. Not that, to your point, that you actually have to answer them.
Right, and there's no mechanism to compel the FinCom to do anything. I don't say that to be flip, but.
No, I know. It's some of it is complicated, right? Because part of it you want to be like, well, let me pull up my PowerPoint presentation I don't have to explain my reason why, right? It
Yeah.
could be more straightforward to be like, well, here are the facts. This is the conclusion we came to.
Yeah.
That's all we're gonna say. If you weren't at the meeting, right? Then
Yeah, well, that's part of it too. Is that I don't want us to get drawn into this huge back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
We've had two meetings.
yeah.
You know, well discussed. We've let it, and you know, this is our position. The position was, you know, to not recommend.
I'm happy to think about it and talk about it again next week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's again. I think overthinking it and stuff. So, and again, I'm just trying to anticipate and stuff. But
You want to feel prepared.
well, yeah, that's it. But again, just as I started this discussion, honestly, I think we've done a good job. I hope you all feel that way too. I think the town people can feel, boy, the information we are getting is a lot. And I don't think there may be 1 or 2 stones on the beach that we haven't figured out to turn over yet, but it's pretty much.
We'll get some more this year.
All right, well, yeah, good, yeah. Very good. All right, so we'll pick that up. But essentially, we will be at the meeting and we'll be available. Keep it simple. Yes, do we have any public input? I see none in these
Only
articles.
Janet is the only person on the screen, Mr. Chair. And Barry is good, so.
Okay.
Thank you,
If
Gary.
Barry's good, yeah.
All right. So our next meeting would be Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. Same
With me.
town hall.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Having nothing else,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Ooh. I'll second it.
Okay.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's 6:52.
Oh, thank you. We are adjourning the meeting as of 6:52 p.m.